Picture this. In the middle of a bustling city, where everyone is rushing, competing, performing, there's one man walking slowly. No phone in hand, no Bluetooth call, no stress on his face. He's dressed plainly. He doesn't look rich, he doesn't look poor, he just looks free. While the crowd around him is in a frenzy, checking stocks, rushing to meetings, flaunting outfits, chasing likes, he walks as if he's not part of this race. Because he isn't. He's not hustling, he's not selling himself. He's not trying to get ahead. And that's exactly what makes him dangerous. He's not plugged into the same machine the rest of us are. He doesn't measure his worth in money or followers or job titles. He doesn't care if you think he's successful. He's not interested in climbing a ladder that leads nowhere. He's living by his own rhythm, his own values. And that, in a world engineered to keep you dependent, is an act of rebellion. You see, in a society where everyone is desperately chasing money as if money is oxygen, the man who doesn't run becomes a threat. Not because he harms anyone, but because his existence asks a question that scares people to death. What if freedom isn't found in what you can buy, but in what you no longer need? What if success isn't accumulation, but liberation? What if the entire game is rigged and he simply walked off the board? The system can't handle that question. Because that man, the one who doesn't chase money, he isn't playing. He's outgrown the game. And nothing terrifies the system more than someone who doesn't want what it's selling. Let me tell you something few dare to admit. This society isn't just built on money. It's built on your need for money, on your fear of not having it, your fear of being poor, of being left behind, of being judged. Every major industry you interact with, from education to advertising to social media to tech, isn't just selling a product. It's selling you a story, that your life is only valuable if it's profitable, that you must hustle or you're lazy, that you must want more or you're unambitious, that comfort is weakness and burnout is a badge of honor. Think about it. You're taught from a young age that success equals earning, that your time only has value if someone else is paying for it, that rest is guilt and play is childish unless it's monetized. Even schools have stopped teaching curiosity. They teach compliance. They teach you to chase credentials so you can chase a paycheck. And then they hand you over to corporations that promise fulfillment but deliver debt, deadlines, and dependence. Here's the brutal truth. If you don't crave money, you're not a good consumer. If you're content, you're bad for business. If you're self-sufficient, you're a glitch in the matrix. And society hates glitches. So they label you lazy, irresponsible, unrealistic, broke. But those words aren't truth. They're control. They're weapons to keep you running in circles, forever chasing the next thing, forever feeling like you're not enough. But what if the man who walks away from that chase isn't lost, but found? What if the man who lives simply isn't failing, but winning? What if rejecting the money obsession isn't weakness, but wisdom? Erich Fromm once said, "If I am what I have, and if what I have is lost, then who am I?" The system doesn't want you to ask that question, but you must, because until you do, you're not living, you're just earning, and there's a world of difference between those two. Erich Fromm once said, "Real wealth is not having more, but needing less." But he went even further. He wrote, "The truly rich man is not the one who has much, but the one who is no longer controlled by the fear of not having." Let that sink in. Most people don't chase money because they love it. They chase it because they fear what happens without it. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of irrelevance. But what if the man who feels no fear about being broke because he knows who he is with or without a bank account is actually the richest man in the room? Henry David Thoreau understood this long before the world turned into a 24/7 marketplace. He walked away from the noise, from the rat race, from the expectations. He built a cabin in the woods near Walden Pond, not to escape life, but to discover it. People called him poor, but he wasn't. He had enough food, enough shelter, enough time to think, write, walk, be. What he truly possessed was something most millionaires can't buy: freedom. Thoreau wasn't trying to beat the system, he simply stepped outside of it. And from there, he could see clearly. The more you need, the more you can be owned. But the less you need, the less you can be bought. Fromm echoed this truth decades later. He warned that modern man had become a slave, not to chains, but to consumption. We no longer ask who we are, only what we have. We don't seek meaning, we seek upgrades. Our identity is tied to what's in our wallet, not what's in our soul. But here's the radical idea. If you no longer fear poverty, you can no longer be bribed. You can no longer be lured with shiny things or silenced by the threat of scarcity. The person who doesn't fear being poor is the one who can finally choose to be free. Let's take it deeper. What really goes on inside the mind of someone who isn't controlled by money? Who doesn't wake up every day worrying about how to climb the next financial rung or prove their worth with a paycheck? Here's what I've learned. They're not living to consume. They're living to feel, to be present, to create, to savor. Their joy doesn't come from purchases, it comes from moments, from conversations, from silence, from a walk in nature, a book read slowly, a meal cooked with care. These are the riches that can't be taxed or marketed. They don't need to wear their value. They are their value. They don't chase status symbols to prove they matter. They don't need to. They know who they are, and that's enough. They don't fear being seen as less than because they've stopped playing that game altogether. Theirs is not a life of owning, it's a life of being. And here's the thing. They've reclaimed something we all had as children but lost along the way. The ability to wonder, to play, to be curious without a price tag attached. They've taken back the right to enjoy without owning, to belong without buying, to exist without performing. They find joy not in what they possess, but in what they experience. And that makes them deeply, quietly, untouchably powerful. Because when your happiness no longer depends on the market, the algorithm, or the paycheck, you've become something that terrifies the modern world. A person who cannot be manipulated, bought, or broken. So how do you actually live this way? How do you break the grip of money, status, and endless wanting? Thoreau gave us a blueprint nearly 2 centuries ago, and it's never been more relevant. He believed that freedom wasn't found in acquiring more, but in needing less. Every item you own, every service you depend on, every luxury you cling to, comes with a string attached. And the more strings you collect, the more tangled you become. Thoreau didn't just talk about this, he lived it. He moved to Walden not to escape the world, but to study it from a distance. He built his own small cabin with his own hands. He grew his own food, lived with bare essentials, and in doing so, discovered a profound truth. When you reduce your needs, you increase your freedom. It's not poverty, it's power. It's not deprivation, it's clarity. See, when you're no longer chasing a bigger house, a flashier car, a fancier wardrobe, you free up something more valuable than money. Your time, your energy, your mind. You're no longer shackled to jobs you hate just to maintain a lifestyle you don't even love. You can say no without fear. You can walk away without regret because you've stripped life down to what actually matters, and you've found it's more than enough. Thoreau once wrote, "A man is rich in proportion to the number of things which he can afford to let alone." Let that line live inside you, because the fewer things you must have, the fewer ways the world can control you. Minimalism isn't about owning nothing. It's about no longer being owned. When you live with just what you need, everything you have starts to mean more. And the space you create, that's where your real life begins. Now, let's take this even deeper. Thoreau showed us how to live with less, but Erich Fromm showed us why it matters. He warned that modern society has hypnotized us into believing that to have is to be, that your car defines your status, that your salary defines your intelligence, that your possessions define your worth. We've built a culture where you don't exist unless someone else sees it, likes it, and validates it. But Fromm flipped the script. He said, "True fulfillment doesn't come from having, it comes from being. Being present, being alive, being free, being connected to yourself in a way that can't be sold or liked or monetized." He called it the mode of being versus the mode of having. And the difference is everything. When you live in the mode of having, you always need more. You're always afraid of losing what you've got. You become possessive, anxious, insecure. Your self-worth rises and falls with your paycheck, your appearance, your success. But in the mode of being, you're grounded. You're enough as you are. You don't need to prove anything. You can simply exist, deeply, meaningfully, peacefully. And here's the radical part. People who live this way are immune to the tools of modern manipulation. Ads don't work on them. Status symbols don't impress them. Peer pressure doesn't move them, because their sense of value isn't external, it's internal. They don't need to own the world to feel powerful. They need to know themselves. That's where their real wealth lies. So the question is this: are you living to accumulate, or are you living to become? Are you measuring your life by what you possess, or by who you are when all the noise is stripped away? Fromm's truth is simple, but it shakes the foundation of consumer culture. The person who chooses being over having is no longer a slave. And in today's world, that makes them truly dangerous. Let's be clear, money itself isn't the enemy. It's a tool, nothing more. It builds, supports, feeds, shelters. But somewhere along the way, we stopped using money and started serving it. We made it the master, the measure, the meaning. And that's where the danger begins. Because once your freedom depends on your finances, it's no longer freedom, it's a transaction. Think about how many people trade away their time, their energy, their health, even their values, for a paycheck. Not because they want to, but because they have to. They silence themselves in meetings to keep their jobs. They stay in toxic careers for the illusion of security. They say yes when their soul screams no just to keep the money flowing. That's not wealth, that's quiet desperation. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop fearing the loss of money is the moment you become free to speak truth, to live with integrity, to choose what's right, not just what's convenient. When you no longer panic over shrinking bank accounts, you start asking bigger questions like, does this align with who I really am? Am I building a life I respect, or just paying to survive? The system wants you to think money is freedom, but it's not. Detachment from money is freedom. Mastery over your desires is freedom. The power to walk away, to say no, to live on your own terms, that's real wealth. It's not about rejecting money, it's about refusing to be ruled by it. So what does it actually look like to live without chasing money? What makes someone truly independent, grounded, and immune to manipulation? After reflecting on the wisdom of thinkers like Thoreau and Fromm, and after observing how modern society tries to keep us constantly striving, I've come to believe that there are 4 key principles, 4 inner strengths that set a person free, not just financially, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The first is freedom from artificial desire. We live in a culture that's built to make you feel like you're always lacking something. Every ad, every social media trend, every status symbol tells you that you're not enough until you buy more. But the person who stops and questions that voice is already halfway free. They don't chase trends. They don't compare themselves to others. They ask simple but powerful questions like, do I really want this? Or, have I just been told I should? That kind of awareness breaks the cycle of endless consumption. The second pillar is value independence. Most people are walking around with values they never chose. They believe what their parents believed, what their teachers taught, what society repeated, without ever asking why. But the person who defines their own code of success and happiness based on what truly matters to them becomes untouchable. When you no longer need approval to feel right, when you know what you stand for, the pressure to conform loses its power. Third is the ability to nourish yourself emotionally. In a world where so many rely on likes, attention, or constant distractions to feel okay, the person who can sit alone with their thoughts, enjoy their own company, and feel at peace without external input, that person has a superpower. Their joy doesn't come from possessions. It comes from reflection, from creativity, from being fully alive in the moment. And that kind of inner strength can't be bought or borrowed. It has to be built. And the fourth is something most people never dare to practice: social courage. The courage to walk your own path even when others don't understand, to say no to what's expected, to let go of approval, to risk being called weird, lazy, unrealistic, because you've chosen to live with honesty instead of performance. That kind of courage shakes people. It makes them uncomfortable because it reminds them of their own compromises, but it also inspires. Deep down, people respect the ones who dare to be real. These four principles: freedom from fake desires, independence of values, emotional self-reliance, and social courage, they form the foundation of a life that cannot be bought, owned, or controlled. And in a system built on selling you a version of happiness that always stays just out of reach, that kind of freedom is revolutionary. Let's not sugarcoat it. Choosing not to chase money will cost you. Not in the way most people fear, not in hunger or poverty, but in perception. Society will misunderstand you. People will label you. They'll call you lazy, unmotivated, even a failure. Not because you are, but because you make them question everything they've been taught to value. You'll see it in the way people look at you when you say you've chosen a simpler life. When you say no to a promotion that doesn't align with your soul. When you pass up a high-paying job because it costs too much of your time, your health, your peace. They won't get it, and that's okay, because what you're gaining is something they can't see and probably wouldn't believe. You gain time, not just free hours, but time that feels yours. You gain space to think, to breathe, to reconnect with what matters. You gain clarity, the kind that can only come when you're no longer sedated by distraction or chasing approval. And above all, you gain something money cannot buy and no status can guarantee: freedom. Freedom to live with integrity, freedom to create without pressure, freedom to speak truthfully, to move slowly, to wake up and not feel like you're already behind. That kind of freedom is rare. And because it's rare, it's misunderstood. People might drift away. Some friendships will fade. Even family may worry you've lost your ambition. But what they don't see is that you haven't given up on life. You've finally started living it on your terms. And here's the paradox. When you no longer need money to prove your worth becomes self-evident. You carry it with you. It shows in how you walk, how you speak, how you no longer bend yourself to fit into spaces you've outgrown. That quiet confidence, the one that doesn't need attention to exist, that's the reward. That's the treasure at the end of the road, less traveled. Now, let's talk about why this choice, this refusal to play the game, makes people so uncomfortable. Why it threatens the very structure of modern life. Because when you step out of the money chase, you don't just change your own life, you disrupt the system. First, the economic system. Modern economies thrive on endless consumption. You are expected to keep buying, upgrading, wanting. A person who's content, who doesn't need the newest phone, the latest fashion, or the fanciest vacation, is a problem. You don't feed the machine. You don't fuel the cycle. And that makes you economically useless in the eyes of those who profit from your insecurity. Second, the political system. Most political narratives are built on fear. fear of scarcity, fear of the other, fear of losing what you have. A person who's not scared of losing money, status, or approval is much harder to manipulate. You can't be baited with promises or threatened into silence. You think for yourself. You vote with clarity. You resist emotional blackmail. And that kind of independence terrifies people who rely on mass control. Third, the psychological impact. Your peace becomes a mirror, and people hate what it reflects. Your contentment highlights their restlessness. Your freedom exposes their chains. You're not judging them, but they feel judged just by your existence, and so they push back. They call you strange. They try to pull you back in, because if your way of life is valid, then maybe theirs isn't, and that's a truth too heavy for most to hold. In the end, society doesn't fear the poor. It fears the independent. It fears the person who doesn't want what everyone else is chasing, the person who doesn't need to prove anything, the one who walks through the world not looking to take, but to be. And that kind of person is the rarest and most dangerous kind of all. So how do you become this kind of person? The one who isn't chasing money, who isn't consumed by fear, who lives on their own terms. Fromm and Thoreau didn't just point out the problem, they modeled a way out. And no, it doesn't require escaping to the woods or rejecting all comforts. It starts with something far more subtle and far more powerful. You start by simplifying, not just your home, but your mind. Begin to strip away the noise, the clutter, the compulsions. Look at your spending, not as a financial strategy, but as a spiritual audit. What are you buying that you don't need? What desires have been planted in you by advertising, not by your own soul? Then go deeper. Define your non-negotiables. What values are worth more to you than any paycheck? Maybe it's honesty, or time with your family, or your health, or your creativity. Whatever it is, name it, write it down, and make it sacred. Because when you know what can't be bought, you stop selling pieces of yourself for comfort or praise. Next, invest where it counts. Not in stocks or brands, but in your being. Learn something that inspires you. Read slowly. Think deeply. Make things with your hands. Spend time alone, not to escape people, but to find yourself again. Because the truth is, you can't live freely if you don't know who you are. Becoming is not a side project, it's the main mission. And slowly, intentionally, reduce your dependence on money. That doesn't mean becoming reckless or irresponsible. It means becoming resourceful. Learn to need less. Learn to build your life not around your income, but around your priorities. That shift, small at first, starts to change everything. You begin to trust yourself more than the market. You begin to live with money, not for it. This isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice, a slow but steady rebellion, a choice to be ruled by purpose, not price. And every time you act from that place, you become a little more whole, a little more awake, and yes, a little more dangerous to a system that wants you asleep. In the end, the man who doesn't chase money is not poor. He's powerful. He's not lacking drive. He's chosen a different direction. He's not behind. He's just walking a road that most people are too afraid to take. He lives by his own compass. He works for meaning, not just for wages. He values time more than titles, depth more than display. And because of that, he can't be bribed with status, bought with comfort, or silenced by fear. He doesn't need the system's approval because he's found his own. Yes, people will misunderstand him. He'll be called unambitious, unrealistic, even dangerous. And in a way, he is dangerous. Dangerous to a culture that runs on insecurity. Dangerous to a world that profits from your discontent. Dangerous to anyone who needs you to stay small, scared, and obedient. But make no mistake, this is not a story of rejection. It's a story of reclamation, of taking back your soul from a marketplace that tried to sell it, of remembering that freedom was never meant to be earned through exhaustion or debt. It was meant to be lived honestly, simply, and fully. Because the world doesn't need more millionaires with no peace. It doesn't need more influencers chasing applause. It doesn't need more productivity. It needs more presence. What the world needs now more than ever is men and women who are complete without consumption, who don't just survive the system, but transcend it. So ask yourself, what part of your life has a price tag, and what part never should have? And more importantly, who could you become if money no longer owned your choices? That's the question that changes everything. And in a world where almost everyone is for sale, the man who isn't becomes the rarest and most necessary kind of human being. Free,